we're going to talk about, and then jump in and talk about those things. So here's what I want to do today. I want to talk about voting. I want to dig deep into it. I'm fortunate with the timing of this session, given what's coming up this week. So I want to identify some problems with our current voting system. Some of this probably won't be news to many of you, but I just want to highlight sort of the salient features that I want to talk about today. I want to give examples of alternative voting systems. So depending on where you live, maybe your city uses a different voting system, or maybe you've heard of others. Maybe you haven't. That's fine too. That's part of why we're here today, is to talk about some examples of alternatives. I want to talk about, I guess you could say, theorems in the mathematics of voting, and that's Arrow's impossibility theorem. So if you haven't heard of that, don't worry, we'll get to it. If you have heard about it, we'll talk about it a little bit more. I want to talk about two different kinds of voting systems, a ranked voting system and a cardinal voting system. We'll explain those terms when we get there, but that's one of the things I want you to be able to walk out of here having an understanding of. And then I want us all to talk together and try to identify ways to increase awareness of voting reform, both in and hopefully out as well of math class. So those are the goals today. And feel free to interrupt me at any time. If you have any questions or anything, just shout, raise your hand, whatever you want to do. Hoping that, especially towards the end, we can make this as collaborative as possible so that I don't have to talk too much. All right, so let's start at the top and talk about some problems with our current voting system. So I'm sure you're all aware we've got an election coming up. And it's an interesting election because no matter what your politics are, it's been pretty clear that both candidates are while they have sort of a core set of supporters, they're also historically disliked in general. So here are sort of unfavorability ratings for the Republican and Democrat candidate over time, starting with 1980. And you can see the unfavorable ratings for Trump are pretty huge. For Clinton as well, unfavorable ratings are quite high. These are sort of averages taken from March to April of the year of the election. So these numbers aren't necessarily the numbers as they stand right now, but they're just the numbers that they were earlier in the year. And you might think, okay, well, the country's just become increasingly polarized, right? So if I'm a Republican and I watch Fox News all day, then maybe I'll just have a tendency to not like the Democrat. If I'm a Democrat and I watch MSNBC all day, vice versa, right? But that doesn't appear to be the case. So if you look at sort of the net between this candidate's strong favorability and strong disfavorability, that has also gone quite down. So people dislike Trump a lot more than they like him. Same thing for Clinton. So I think that's kind of a problem, right? If a huge portion of the country dislikes your candidate, regardless of that candidate's political affiliation, I don't think that's a great sign. And so I'd like to talk, rather than like talking about a Republican platform or a Democratic platform or getting too far into the weeds in politics, which I'm not super interested in, I want to look instead at the underlying mechanism by which we elect officials. And I want to primarily think about the president just because that's easy to think about and it's very timely. So I want to sort of like not think about the Electoral College too much and just think about it on a state-by-state basis. You could talk about reforming or getting away with the Electoral College as well. That's sort of another topic for another day. But instead I want to talk about plurality voting, which is the method by which most elections are run in this country, right? So whether it's mayor or governor or president in your state, it's typically what's called first past the post, right? So whoever gets the most votes wins the election. And the ballot is structured in a way where you vote for the candidate you want to win,